Hi, I'm Jen with PepperHarrow, and I'm going to be walking you through today how to do a design. I've seen a lot of questions from you out there on Instagram and Facebook and some other platforms asking us to do more design examples. I am out of season at the moment, so I'm not actually using blooms that are locally grown here on our farm. But it's always good, especially in the off season, for flower farmers to get in a little bit of practice when it comes to doing floral design. One of my tips is the more practice you do, the better you get. So practice every opportunity you can get, and I hope this inspires you guys along to try a new design and to get some practice in the off season. For today's design, we're going to be starting out with just a simple white vase. Inside of this vase, I actually have a little bit of chicken wire, and this is a wide chicken wire. I don't know, probably about an inch or two. I think it's the 2-inch chicken wire, and it's just kind of crumpled up in a little ball. I have it just sitting down here inside of my vase. Typically, I like to use a little bit of floral tape on top just to make sure I give it an additional layer of security to hold that chicken wire in. But this particular piece of chicken wire I have in there is doing a really good job of staying inside of my vessel, so I'm not using the floral tape today. But do know if you have a wider open bowl, that is what you're going to want to do to make sure that that stays inside the vase. All right, so I'm all set with that. I have a pair of floral snips that I'm going to be using. I use these or sometimes scissors. It just depends what you like to work with. So the first thing I do is I'm going to take my greenery, and I actually have some eucalyptus here sitting on the side that I have pre-cut. I want to make sure that we can go relatively quickly. I don't know how big I have this, probably about 7 inches long. It really doesn't matter. The first thing we're going to do is take the greenery that we have cut, and we're going to just make a little nest of greenery on the side to kind of build our base. So we're going to make a little greenery nest to set our flowers in. And I'm really not putting this in any particular order. I'm just putting a few pieces of my eucalyptus in. This is my seeded eucalyptus. I'm going to cut down this piece a little bit. Readjust that. All right, and this is eucalyptus gunny. It's just a little bit smaller type of eucalyptus. I like it because it looks a little bit more subtle and a little bit more wispy and feminine. I think you can get a little bit heavy when it comes to eucalyptus. So this is a nice, soft, light looking eucalyptus that's gonna look really pretty in our design today. I'm just gonna peel off some of the side branches. Just wanna make sure that you don't have any of the greenery down in the water, and make sure you retrim your stems before you stick it back in the water. Okay. So just a little bit of greenery. I think that you don't have to go too heavy on the greenery to make it look really nice. I'm just gonna keep spinning it around so you guys can kind of see it from all different angles. It's nice to have your greenery at different heights and depths to give it a little dimension so that it doesn't look the same all the way around. All right, the next thing I'm gonna do is go put in my Dusty Miller. So I have a few pieces of Dusty I'm gonna stick in. I love Dusty Miller because it can be dried out. This is the fancy kind. I think this is one we actually grow here on the farm. And just pop him in a few places. I have 3 I'm just sticking in. I like to use odd numbered materials usually as I'm doing design. And you can see I have some brown amaranth here, and this is actually from the farm. It's been dried. I'm gonna save this for the end. I'm gonna tuck it in just as an accent. It really does, the brown does a nice job in complementing some of the peach tones that I'm using with the flowers I'm using today. I was gonna put in my stock, but I think I'll wait. I'm gonna go ahead and put in my roses first. So the roses I'm using kind of a purpley toned rose. I'll pop that in, and I'll put all the material names in at the end of the video so you guys can see what everything's named if you want to look for these after the fact. I'm gonna pop in my quicksand rose here. And again, it's important to cut them at all different shapes and sizes. We don't want them, or heights, I don't want them both to be at the same height. If you do that, your flowers can tend to start to look like antenna within your design. Cut this one down and put it right in the center. Sink them down a bit. Okay. Get my other purple rose, lavender. And remember that if you stick it in at the side, you really get some length. If you put it straight up and down, you're gonna get that height. So really think about when you stick it in at an angle, it needs to be in the water, but if you stick it in at the angle, it can give you that breadth that you're looking for as you look to go around your design. Put this guy up a little bit higher in my design. Okay. All right, so my roses are placed. The roses are acting as my focal flower in this design. So you can see I put my greenery in first. I popped in my focal flowers, so those are in. I'm gonna now supplement by putting in some of my supporting flowers. And for that, I'm gonna be, whoop, dropped one. I'm gonna be putting in my Lisianthus, wax flower, and some of that stalk that you saw, the peachy colored stalk. So a very feminine looking design today. That's kind of my preference. I like to use color, but I do a lot of weddings, so this is what I kind of lean to when I'm doing design on my own and for practice. I kind of gear it more towards doing weddings and events like that, because that's usually the color requests I get to do those events. Okay. I'm just going to keep spinning my design around. Make it a little bit two-sided, looking at it from both ways. And I like Lisianthus because the little buds really add a lot of interest in the design itself, not just the flower, but the little buds that are on the Lisianthus are really, really pretty. I'm going to finish putting my Lizzies in before I go any further. I'm just going to add some height by adding that Lisianthus up there. And if I don't have any blooms on my Lisianthus, it's okay to use these buds. They're really pretty and very natural looking. Just to make it look a little bit more nature inspired by popping these buds in. And if the bud is swollen like this one, it will continue to open. If they're too small, they won't open, but they add a lot of interest to your design. So I have my Lizzies popped in there. I'm gonna tuck in some of my wax flower. I actually have some white wax flower here that's so pretty. And I love wax flower because it has this really pretty little lemony smell to it that is just fragrant and amazing. Really, really love it. Okay, cut this little guy a little bit longer, pop it in. I'm definitely wanting to add in some of my peachy tones. It's starting to look a little bit washed out, but when I go back in and add in some of that amaranth that I was talking about, that will help with some of that as well. I'm gonna sink down some of my wax flower in here. And maybe keep a few pieces long, just again to give it that width that I'm looking for. I don't want to go too crazy with the wax flower because it's pretty wild, but if you have something like this, just know putting a big piece in like this could be too distracting. So if you just pull off some of these little side shoots, it helps scale down the impact of that bloom a little bit. So you saw the huge piece that I had. I skimmed it down to this so that it's not too overpowering and distracting from my design. Just needed to be scaled down a little bit. Okay. My last piece, I'm gonna go pop it in, and then I'm gonna put in my status, and then we'll focus on the last few little elements here. Okay. Pop in that status, or the stalk. The bottom pieces of the stalk are a little bit wilty, so I'm just going to pull those off. And also, again, how we were talking about how distracting they get. If you have a little too much there, it can be a little bit distracting. So I'm just going to pull off a few of the little bottom buds. Give it a trim, and I'm gonna make this a little shorter because it's going to sit down in my design a little bit. So gorgeous. I love the peachy tones in this stock. Okay. Okay, spin it around. Let you guys look at it from the side I was just looking at. Grab my down piece here. Okay, getting a little crowded there, so I'm going to pop it up on top. There we go. And the last thing I'm going to do now is go in and tuck in my little pieces of amaranth. And you can see how beautiful this brown colored beige amaranth looks with both the purple, the violet tones. It has kind of a brown hue to it, which kind of goes together. And then it really looks amazing against this pinky peach color as well. And it doesn't actually need to be in the water because it's dried. So it can, but I won't have it all the way in the water for some of my pieces that I put in. Just gonna see how this looks real quick. I don't know if it'll work that high or not. Okay, just spin it. Okay, almost done here. Oops. I'm a fan of, I've started to spread my amaranth all over the place and it started to look a little washed out and too similar. So I'm gonna make sure that I keep my amaranth focused in one place just to allow it to have its little moment within this design. Okay, pop that in. Clean off my spot here. Okay. And there we go, ready to go. So we have a beautiful design made with blooms that is a really great practice activity for the end of for our flower season here as we're not growing flowers. It's really fun to practice and see what you can get put together. I did this one really quickly just to do an example for you all on how I do my designs. Typically, most designs I usually take about 45 minutes to an hour. So allow yourself plenty of time. You don't have to go whip out a beautiful design really quick. Take your time with it, relax, enjoy, put a little music on, enjoy yourself and have a great time. If you guys enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to our channel. And if you have any additional questions or feedback for me, please put it in the comments below. I'm curious to see what you guys say or if you have any questions. Thank you for joining today.